What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Dio for President back again with another video. And today we are reacting to when you score 83 points in a game and nobody cares. As you guys know, Bam Adebayo, bro, I'm saying it like these white people, bro. Bam Adebayo scored 83 points in a game, and I'm not going to lie, people were hating so much. People have been like, bro, what do you mean 83 points? Like Bam Adebayo, sorry. And they're like, what? They're like, what? But anyways, you guys, let's get into the video, bro.
Take a look at the best scoring nights throughout NBA history, and you will see a list of the greatest players to ever play the game. Jordan 69, Steph 62, Lillard 71, Luka 73, Kobe Bryant's famous 81. It's the most coveted record book in all of basketball, a testament and historical evidence of the greatest nights in NBA history by some of the greatest players in NBA history.
That is very true. That is very true. When you get to that, like, 60, I remember when Donovan Mitchell scored 71 and it was like, whoa, because like I feel like I felt that way because a part of me felt like, not that he wasn't that good, but like he's good enough to score 71, because look at all the people. I didn't even know Elgin Baylor scored 71. And that's no diss to Donovan Mitchell, bro. He's nice, but at the same time, like, I don't know if you guys get where I'm coming from. Like, I just didn't expect that. Even Dame, I didn't see that coming.
Which begs the question, what the hell is Bam Adebayo doing here?
Exactly. Like, what?
With a mind-boggling modern NBA record of 83 points. Well, this, my friends, is the result of quite possibly the most egregious case of stat padding the NBA has ever seen. And despite scoring the second most points in a single game in the history of the NBA.
Wow. Bro, do you want to think about Will Chamberlain scoring 100 points in a game? After that game with Bam Adebayo, like, I'm just like, it's possible. It's possible. And that's no diss to Bam. Like, what he did was tremendous. Like, shout out to him. But then, and now I'm like, oh no, it's actually possible to score 100 points in a game if you are like, super tall and good at basketball. You feel me?
Bam's 83-point night will go down as one of the most shocking and controversial games we may ever see.
They made a whole production. Isn't this crazy?
Today's video is sponsored by Arena Club. If you grew up collecting sports cards like me, searching for that one player, that one Jimmy, code JXMY. On Tuesday night, in a game featuring the Washington Wizards in the
16-47. Wow. They were actually not good.
Miami Heat, with 1 minute and 46 seconds left in the fourth quarter, the Heat were up 146 to 119. By all conceivable measures, this game was a blowout. It's over. But with that being the case, why is Drew Smith attempting a full court heave while his team is up nearly 30 points on a piss-poor Wizards team? Well, he's not. He's trying to get the ball to Bam Adebayo, who is being double-teamed 50 feet away from the ball because he has 79 points.
Wow. They were like, no, this guy cannot do this to us. Like our pride. But sometimes, I'm not going to lie, it feels like the NBA is like, it's like watching a movie now. It's like watching like a series. Like, I see the entertainment besides the basketball, like the history of everything. It's like, wow.
And absolutely no intention of subbing out of this game. At this point, the only way Bam is going to add to his historic total will be at the free throw line, because Washington is now guarding him with their entire roster. And what started as a normal basketball game has now become a full-blown circus act. But it didn't start this way. In just the first quarter of this game, Bam Adebayo had 31 points, the second most points scored in the first quarter of a game in.
How? What was going on? Are they that bad?
NBA history. By halftime, Bam had 43, already a career high, and the second most points scored in the first half of a game in NBA history. Going into the third, the Wizards still had no answer for Bam. His points still flooding in, both naturally in the flow of the game and ethically. By the end of the third, Bam had 62 points.
How? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, what was going on the entire game?
Which, you guessed it, is the second most points through 3 quarters in NBA history. Before the start of the fourth quarter, Bam's performance was already being celebrated by his teammates and fans. He had broken LeBron's franchise scoring record of 61. He set a new career high, and the Heat were blowing the Wizards out by 20. And it is at this point where Bam and his coaching staff are left with a decision. Stay in the game and build onto an already substantial lead. Leave the floor and sub out as the hero of the night, or stay in the game and potentially chase the league's scoring record. What decision should they make? Well, it just so happens that I covered this exact predicament in my last video, where I asked the question, is it possible to score 100 points in an NBA game? The final verdict? Yes, it is possible. The only problem? The circumstances required to have such a game are so unlikely that we will probably never see 100 points ever again. Unless a player is willing to infringe on the integrity of the game itself. There have been many games throughout the years that had record-breaking potential, but for a few reasons, most notably the game being a blowout and the potential record breaker respectfully sitting the final quarter, there have been very few instances where a player was able to genuinely chase the record without any negative consequences. How did Bam Adebayo drop the most points in modern NBA history on a random Tuesday night in March?
Great respect to let him. History of the NBA. Now 3. Bam.
Oh, they're about to talk about the free throws.
He gets fouled.
They're about to talk about like free throws and all of that.
By choosing option C and infringing on the integrity of the game. In what could have been a celebrated, memorable, and ethical performance, Bam and the Heat decided to go a different route. With about 9 minutes left in this game, Bam had this incredible and one. A blow-by followed up with this great acrobatic finish at the rim through contact, and an explosion from the fans in the arena. And after hitting the free throw, this would have been the ideal and
Is he that much stronger than everybody on the Wizards?
historically acceptable moment for Bam to check out of this game. It was his 70th point of the night. Miami had the game all but wrapped up. And up to this point, all of his points were ethical, non-GMO, farm-raised buckets. But instead, Bam stayed in the game. And here is how he scored his final 13 points. Free throw, free throw, free throw, free throw, miss 3, layup, free throw, miss 3, turnover, miss 3, miss 3, free throw, free throw, free throw, free throw, intentional miss free throw, attempting to manufacture more points, free throw, free throw. Bye-bye Kobe, hello Bam. In what is now being called the most unethical game.
That's crazy. He just scored a bunch of free throws. At the same time, like, I don't know what to say, bro. I don't know. For me personally, I respect it. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to do that, you know, like, damn. But on the other hand, I get where everyone is coming from.
Of basketball the league has ever seen. The Miami Heat spent the final 7 minutes of this game executing every conceivable tactic to manufacture more points for Bam Adebayo. Chucking up unnecessary threes, intentionally fouling the Wizards to get possession, even going as far as intentionally missing a free throw to try to get the ball back to Bam. And as a result, they are quickly discovering why Kobe's modern scoring record stood for so long and why no one can seem to match it despite a number of players getting close. Because, wait, I actually already said this a week ago. Let me find the clip real quick. 100 points in a single game is possible, but the circumstances required to have such a game to justify one player taking that many shots and doing so without infringing on the integrity of the game is so narrow that we may never see it happen again.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I totally get where he's coming from. Because there's no integrity. Because they didn't have to do that. You know, it wasn't needed. You get what I'm saying? It was like, yes, I am going to break the record. Not like, I got this record because, you know, that was just in flow of the game. It was like, no. Like, at some point they just decided like, yeah, he's gonna break the record.
Ah, that's right. The fallout for unapologetically chasing out. Yeah. This is truly a definitive and timeless paradox of big performances. Historic nights like this have become less about can a player pull it off and more about do the circumstances require a player to pull it off, in which case the circumstances virtually never do. This performance from Bam is not only proof of that, but it is evidence of what we all have known to be the truth. There are many players around the league right now who could go for 80, 90, maybe even 100 points on the right night. If they set their mind to it, if them and their team game plan for it, if it is their sole focus.
I think Wemby could definitely score 100 points in a game. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Wemby would not easily, but then it wouldn't be difficult, for Wemby to score 100 points. I'm surprised that he hasn't scored 100 points.
For 48 minutes, if the Washington Wizards are on their schedule. But even attempting something like this would require a player to break the unwritten rules of basketball. And that clearly isn't worth the backlash of possibly pulling it off. It isn't worth it. So what were the fruits of Bam's labor? The second most points in a single game in NBA history, the most free throw attempts in a single game in NBA history, by far the most free throws made in a game in NBA history.
Wow. Really? Most free throws made in a game in NBA history is Bam.
And the fifth most three-pointers attempted in a game.
Wow.
Oh, and he also broke the record for the most criticism received by a single player in one game. Now, if we ignore all context and what it took to get there, according to the game score metric, which takes all the good things a player does in the box score minus all the bad things and spits out a number that attempts to reflect the impact a player had on a game, Bam had statistically the sixth best game in NBA history.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Which is unfortunate that it will not be remembered as such. In my last video, I used this chart to display the greatest scoring nights in NBA history.
Yo, this guy really breaks down the entire game, bro. Like, this is such a well broken down game. Sorry. There's drunk people outside. There's drunk people outside. That's why they're making noise right now. There's drunk people outside.
And the pace these players were on to reach their final totals. For example, here's Luka's 73, here's Booker's 70, Lillard's 71, here's Kobe's 81, and here is Bam's 83. Through 3 quarters, he was tied for the second most points all time going into the fourth. In fact, that and one bucket in the fourth quarter that I mentioned earlier is right here. All of his buckets leading up to this point were non-forced ethical buckets within the flow of the game. Bam Adebayo was playing out of his mind, better than anyone ever has in modern NBA history.
Wow, so up until 70 points, he was just playing in the flow of the game. Wow.
Even before all of these shameless scoring tactics were deployed. The stat padding that spurred all of this outrage took place here in the final 9 minutes of the game. All of this is now invalid because of this.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
A week ago, I said the methods the Warriors used to get Wilt to 100 were outrageous and would never be used in the modern NBA. 7 days later, we're watching a center get triple-teamed 94 feet out while up 25 with no admissible reason for him still being on the court. I now stand corrected. But I don't think these final minute tactics are worth discrediting this entire performance. 83 points is 83 points, regardless of how you go.
That's what I'm saying, bro. 83 points is 83 points. Did he score 83 points? Yes or no? Yes, he did. Simple.
About getting them, you still have to go out and get them. The irony of this whole thing is that I've seen a lot of comments about how this game was proof for some fans that Wilt Chamberlain actually did score 100 back in 1962, despite there being no video evidence. If Bam can get to 83, Wilt Chamberlain could and definitely did get to 100. which there's already a laundry list of proof from that game. I don't know why this would be the determining factor. But if Bam's game is being ridiculed and dismissed, even if the criticism is justified, then so should the mythical 100-point scoring record. Because the way that Bam got his points is the exact method Wilt used to get his. Like, literally, bar for bar. During the final minutes of Heat Wizards, Keyshawn Johnson intentionally missed a free throw in hopes that the Heat would get the rebound to get it back to Bam. This is exactly what the Warriors did for Wilt. The Heat also intentionally fouled while holding an insurmountable lead to get the ball back faster. The Warriors did the same exact thing to get Wilt to 100.
Wow, so history does repeat itself, History really does repeat itself. I feel like Luka Doncic could score 100 points too.
If Bam's 83 points is invalid because of these tactics, then for that same reason, so is Wilt's 100. Not only did the two biggest scoring nights in NBA history deploy the most gimmicky, shameless tactics to pull it off, this is quite possibly the only way to pull it off. The only difference between Bam's 83 and Wilt's 100 is video cameras and an angry mob of critics online.
Yeah, I actually low-key agree. Because scoring 100 points is, or 83 is kind of like, wow.
Now, to be
By Bam.
completely honest, I was thrilled to finally see a coach allow his player to chase a record and have himself a night that most players could only dream of. You want to know how many games I've watched that were spoiled by an early sub? A player being punished for giving too much belt to the opposing team. A three-point party cut short because they were playing too good. Potential record shut down because it wouldn't be in good taste. If this is what it takes to make up for all the times I had to watch Steve Kerr pull a player from a game on the verge of a league record, then so be it. I am just as surprised as you that I will now see Bam Adebayo's name above Kobe Bryant's
Forever. Forever. Forever, bro. Like, what kind of history is this in the NBA? Like, it's insane.
for the rest of my days. But to see Bam have
And we saw it. We all saw it happen. Yo, we all saw it happen, bro. We all saw it happen. Like, the cameras were on. Like, what do you mean?
the audacity to stay in this game, emphatically do what no one else would dare, was just as fun as it was shocking. Which, by the way, every single player, without exception, would choose to stay in the game and chase a record if their coach allowed them to. This just happens to be the rare case where a coach did allow it. How can we blame Bam for doing something every player would do if given the chance? I don't know, maybe instead of putting all the blame on the man who just scored 83 points in an NBA game, we should aim that frustration at the team that allowed it to happen. Throughout this game, Bam attempted 43 shots, which is a lot. But you want to know who shot more shots in a single game? Kobe. And Kobe, and Westbrook, and DeJounte Murray, and Kobe, and Cade Cunningham, and Kobe, Chris Webber, Kobe, Brunson, Jordan, and Kobe. What about all those free throws Bam attempted? Those are the symptom of a team desperate to slow a player down, but can't stop him without fouling. It has been decades since the last time a player chased points to this extent, let alone had a coaching staff that allowed him to do it. But as I previously mentioned, this feels like conclusive proof that the only thing keeping that 100-point record intact is sheer respect for the unwritten rules and the opposing team and the game itself. If Bam can go for 83, I can only imagine what players like Luka, Shea, Giannis,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Luka could probably get 100 points.
and Wemby could go for, if given the opportunity. But now that we're stuck looking at this for the foreseeable future, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you feel like Bam's 83 was legitimate? Or did the tactics used at the end of this game
Okay, you guys, I'm going to end the video there. Me personally, everyone's talking about tactics. He did this, he did that. Me personally, I kind of like 83 points is 83 points. If someone drops 83 points on me, I don't care. Like, they scored 83 points. What can I say? Hopefully that kind of beating never happens to me. Probably could, but wow. Anyways, you guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section.